Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike, and taking a sip of water on the other end is
Joseph
Bunn. I have a cup of coffee this morning, so
Eagles,
I will toast you.
Bunn Jr.
What is your middle name?
Eagles.
Eagles, like the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah.
Your middle name, how do I not know that about you? Your middle name is Eagles?
Yes, sir.
Give us a little etymology there. How did your parents come up with that?
It's a family name. It's not like, they didn't like Glenn Fry or,
Joseph Eagles. Yeah, well, what year were you born in?
71.
Well, I guess the Eagles weren't they weren't around yet, but the Philadelphia Eagles were.
100%.
Wow, that's weird. I never knew that about you.
Most
never
people
knew
don't.
that.
Yep.
All right. Well, welcome everybody.
Yeah,
now
welcome.
that we found something, we found out. My middle name is boring, Raymond. That's not.
Raymond.
It's not exciting. It's not exciting. No, it's as boring as my first name and my last name. I have three boring names.
I don't think Walter is boring.
Yeah, it's boring. Yes. You don't hear Walter. Well, first of all, most people think of it as a
Walters.
first name. And you don't think of, right, if they think of it as a last name, they put the S on. That's why people put the S on.
Right.
But as a first name, Walter sounds like an accountant. It doesn't sound like someone who's going to rock the dance floor or whatever.
That's valid.
So I've been a success in life, having been held back by three fairly simple and boring names. Anyway, I feel like this topic is boring, so we should move on.
Welcome.
First of all, you have a birthday coming up, right? Is that correct?
I do. 47.
Before our next podcast, right?
Yes,
what are you, next Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 25th. Yes, sir.
Birthday, friend. Happy birthday. What are you doing? Anything special?
No, I'll probably just do the whole family dinner thing and maybe go out with some friends for lunch and then do the family thing for dinner. My dad is the Joseph Eagles Bunn Sr. is the 29th, so he might come up on the 25th, and we might all go out. Yeah,
you celebrate together.
Yes, sir.
Well, you're lucky. You're midweek. It's funny. I think the rest of society loves when their birthday falls on the weekend, Friday night, Saturday night. Right. But anyone in the wedding industry, DJs, photographers, whatever, we all like it when
I agree.
We have our Monday night or Tuesday night birthdays, because this way we can actually have the night off and
I agree.
Celebrate. So good for you, man. Well, I will not speak to you between now. I'm sure I'll call you on your birthday. But happy birthday, my friend. Enjoy it,
dude. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And before we get into what I consider to be a very important topic, so stay tuned for it. I want to just make a note. You were contacted last week. Someone thought we screwed up and put something after the show. And I also talked to somebody else who called me and said, "Hey man, do you know that there's something after the show is over?" And so that is something that's called an Easter egg in recording, or what they used to, when they were CDs, hidden tracks. Every once in a while, when you and I say something funny or there's something that happens pre-show, because we usually start hitting record and then sound check or whatever. When I consider it funny and audience share worthy, I cut it and I put it at the end. So I don't always do it. And now that I've said this, I won't do it for the next couple of weeks because we'll be looking for it. But yeah, if the show ever ends with Tony T's tremendous, sign off, and then there's a couple seconds of dead air and something, that was intentional. That wasn't a screw up on our part, people. So I can't believe I have to explain Easter egg. Mitch Taylor texts me all the time and he goes, "Dude, I love the Easter egg this week."
Oh, so, nice.
Get it, but some people clearly just didn't. It confused some people. So there's the explanation. All right.
You had to explain it to me, and I'm on the show.
Texted me. Well, that's because you never listen to our show. We've already established that in previous. When you texted me, I said, "Joe, you want to listen to these two? They're pretty good.
Pretty good.
Good podcast. Good. There's some good content.
It's a damn good podcast."
But speaking of good content, I thought of this while I was at the DJ Expo this past year. Nick Spinelli did a seminar, and in his seminar, I don't want to misquote him, but I'm pretty sure his quote directly was, "Interaction is dead." And his point was, this younger generation, millennials and even the one coming after them, don't want to be told what to do. And so the days of leading a line dance or getting crowds to sing along at what I promote and call prompting, those days are dying and will be dead soon. So I jotted it down. You and I are always looking for topics for this podcast and for you and I to kick around. So let me start with that premise. Is interaction dying and on the way out, in your opinion, as an MC?
I mean, Mike is different for me. You know what I mean? You and I are so different in not only the way we run our businesses, but the way we just run our show. the pictures of you, especially that picture you shared the other day, a couple of days ago, that did so well, you know, on social media for you, was you out on the dance floor, and you just happened to get caught in a candid moment. It was non-posed, and it was basically summed up everything that you do, you know, that you will get out on the dance floor. And, you know, other than a few key moments where I'll walk out, especially if I'm introducing a toast and kind of, again, I've always talked about, I just do the one microphone thing. If I introduce a toast and pass the mic out, or if I go out and lead the bouquet and garter toss, and I, you know, grab the chair and kind of have the bride take a seat. Those are kind of 2 or 3 moments I can think of where I'm actually out on the dance floor. There's never been in my history or career a moment where I'm out there, you know, teaching a dance or leading a dance. And I don't know that it's ever been asked of me. If it was ever asked, it was asked in advance. So somebody would call and say, I need... You
kind of knew going into it.
I didn't know going into it. I never took the gig because I didn't feel like either A, I was confident enough to lead that.
So in the sales process, if you have a client that says, hey, we want a bunch of line dances and we're looking for somebody to lead it, you'll actually turn down the event.
100%.
Is there somebody on the Bunn roster who would take it?
Nope.
No. So that's now. Do you have somebody in your market that you recommend
100%,
that to?
100%.
Okay. You want to share that name with us? Or
yeah. I mean, there's the main guy that I can think of is this kid Ryan, and we've had issues over the years, but as he's gotten older and I've gotten older and maybe more mature, the both of us, we've. You know, we see eye to eye now. I mean, listen, can he do a show and just be behind the booth and do a good show? Of course. But will he go out there? I mean, literally, the guy competes in West Coast swing dancing. I mean,
right. So he's a great dancer. He doesn't mind showing it off. He's
a great dancer
teaching.
And he's a great MC. I'll give him his props. But he was 100% does not mind going out there and just being like, I mean, you know, grab people out of their seats.
Well, hang on, because I think this distinction is really important. You're saying he doesn't mind going out. I would venture he probably would prefer to go out.
Probably. I would say that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's funny. I forget what movie it was. I just saw a movie last week, and there's a great line in the movie that says, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I love that line because I think it speaks to, and first of all, major kudos to you for turning down a job that's outside of your sweet spot, if you will, as far as I think a lot of companies will take it and then cross fingers and hope they can get through it. But so you would much rather not do interactions. And let's also be clear. Getting out of the dance floor and doing line dances aren't the only thing we're talking about here.
Right.
But those are obviously the two of the most obvious. You'd much rather not do them. So to you want to see every crowd as not wanting that. And this was a conversation I had with Nick after the fact. I pulled Nick aside. First of all, I congratulated him on a great seminar. Yeah. I think we talked about this already. He was really one of the highlights down in Atlantic City. Mm-hmm. And I said, Nick, do you not like to do audience participation and interactives, or do you like it? In other words, what perspective are you coming from? Mm-hmm. And he said, I used to like doing them, but I don't love doing them too much anymore. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, that says a lot about why he thinks it's dying. He sees some people, and listen, I hear some people say, no, we don't want any line dances. We really don't want an interactive MC. Okay, so if I wanted to focus on those people, I would say interaction is dying too. But I can also point to a few events that I did this past weekend where the highlights of the party were the line dances or the prompts that I did. So I am definitely torn, and I don't think it's as dire as interaction is dying.
No, I mean, I definitely would never use that term. And believe me, Mike, you know, I think sometimes you've pointed out, well, do you think you're too cool to do it, or this, that, and the other? One, I don't think that's the reason. One, I don't think I'm trained or competent enough to get out there and do it in a manner which people are going to follow, you know, kind of the follow the leader thing. And
right, but you could, if you wanted to, you could. I mean, listen, you and I are really good friends. I could teach you how to do the line dances. Right. Now, listen, you have a good enough sense of rhythm. Right. I've taught some way whiter people than you to lead line dances.
Right.
So it's possible that you could learn, but you've chosen not to learn. And again, that's totally your perspective. And I think a lot of that has to do with your preference. Your preference is, I want to stay behind the gear.
Yeah.
I want to play cool music, make some announcements, but I don't want to be that guy. Now, I jibe you a little bit when I say I think it's because you think you're too cool. I do think that there's some truth to that, but I think that's not the only reason.
Well, I also will say this, though, and I think we've talked about this a little bit, especially around Christmas last year. I believe we brought this up. There is no question that I'll have 2 gigs a year that I'll be like, damn it, I wish I had that in me to get out there, because you know what I'm saying? Like, it's the John Deere company picnic, end of year award show, and I'm like 6 songs in and nothing's happening, and even if I drop the Cupid Shuffle, it's not really happening. That's when I wish I had that piece of DNA that would be like, bro, you need to go out there and just grab like 6 ladies from table 7.
But you just won't do it.
I can't. My body. I'm just frozen there, and I'm just cussing under my breath because they're not dancing, and I'm pissed off and taking it personally. There's one little something not lining up in the DNA brain, and
this is a snarky question because I know the answer to it, but this is just going to make my point. You do have a cordless microphone, right?
100%.
So you have the technological ability to go 30 feet in front of your system and make an announcement. And when you say pull 7 ladies up, I never touch anybody. Okay. I never pull people physically. I do not. And I know that some DJs do. So again, it's so funny. I worked this past weekend with Todd Moffrey. Todd is a DJ at upstate New York.
I know his name.
And so I had a wedding Friday night. I thought it was upstate New York, but apparently it was just over the border because I put that on Facebook and people corrected me. You're in Middletown, New York. You're not upstate.
When I spoke at that thing up there, I said I was in upstate, and people went nuts.
So I was in New York State, and Todd worked with me. And Todd commented at the end of the night, he's like, "Oh, I thought you'd be out on the dance floor more," because he's apparently more interactive than me. So, and I didn't take it as a knock. I'm like, yeah, what you saw tonight was pretty much my style. We did a few line dances, and a couple of times, a handful of times during the night, I got out in front of the table and I did what I would call a prompt, a hand clap but it's not all night long. So there are varying degrees of interaction. And I think I find myself kind of in the middle. You're down on this end, and somebody like Todd is probably further over than I am. So that spectrum definitely exists, but I forget exactly why I brought this up. Well, but I do think that there are times where that type of peppering the crowd helps, and it brings the energy up, and a line dance will no doubt bring people onto the dance floor.
I mean, listen, there's 2 points I want to make. One, I would say that, and I think you would agree, if you go through your followers on Instagram and Facebook, I guarantee that, Mike, half the people that follow me are DJs. And I follow many of them back. Most of them I know, several I don't know. And I think I do it for this reason, for almost like a research purpose. And I kind of scroll through their timeline or their feed or their stories. And trust me, I mean, I love Nick, but it can't be dead because it's happening not only all over the United States, but all over Canada and all over France and England and Australia. I mean, the interactivity is part of a wedding if they want it, or if the MC so desires to go there. You know what I mean? Right. So, listen, do we get a lot of requests for it at this company? No. I'll say, Mike, I probably turn down 2 a year and maybe a half dozen mitzvahs a year that we just don't feel comfortable doing. You know what I mean? From people that are saying, I need a highly interactive DJ. This is going to be a boring party without one. And I'm like, we don't have that guy. Or I need somebody that's going to take these kids, lead them through the paces, do the mummy dance and Coke and Pepsi and all the things that the mitzvah.
But again, Joe, you're talking about the extremes. At your typical wedding, do you ever during the dancing get on the microphone and prompt the crowd? Do you ever say, let me see some hand clapping at a break, or all right, everybody sing along? See, to me, that's a form of interaction. Right. So just because you're not on the dance floor in the middle of the crowd doing that prompt doesn't mean you're not interacting. That and maybe like now I'm almost kicking myself. We probably should have had Nick on this podcast as a guest. Like, I don't know if that's what he considers interaction. To me, that's a form of interaction. Now, as a DJ who likes to be on the dance floor, I think being in the middle of the dance floor and saying, "Come on, everybody, sing along," and then holding the microphone out to the bride is a better and other level. But being back behind the gear and giving a prompt at a time at the proper time is a form of interaction. I
agree with that. Do you still?
So you're not completely non-interactive. You don't, again, talking about that spectrum, you lean more towards this end. I'm in the middle. A guy like Todd Moffrey might be a further end, but we all interact in some form.
I think you
whatsoever.
have to. I think you have to be good. But again,
well, I think that there are some DJs who never say anything like that on the microphone.
Wow.
I mean, my first job ever was at the bowling alley, and I got hired because the DJ didn't have a microphone. He said, "I don't speak. I play music."
I do remember.
So, and this is mid '80s, but that was my first emceeing job. Was they asked me to be the MC because that was a DJ who didn't even bring a microphone with him.
But would you agree, Mike? It is regional. I mean, down here, I feel like everything from the setups to the interactivity is different in the South.
I don't know if I agree with that because, like you just said, you have a guy in your market, and that's why I asked you that question. If you had said, no, I can't refer it to anybody because no one in my market does that. I mean, if this guy is successful and he's an interactive DJ, then no, your market, just like every market, there are some people that don't want that, and there are some people that want that. But there might be varying degrees, but I don't think there's anywhere in the country where you have to be completely interactive and other parts where you can't, or they're going to throw you out.
I mean, I think Hines and his guys over in Charlotte are pretty interactive, right? I mean, you've worked with him.
Yeah, with their crew. I think they're fairly. Yeah, I think they're fairly interactive, and I also know other companies I've worked with that want to be more interactive, that wish and they brought me in to work with their crew to get them a little bit more interactive, to get them out from behind the table and to do different prompts.
But okay, so let me just switch not the topic but the conversation real quick. There is such thing, and I think you and I have seen it at the workshop before, as too much interaction, right?
No doubt.
Or poorly executed, maybe.
No doubt. If you've seen my Keys DVD or my original training, do you know the analogy I use for interaction?
Remind me, because I've seen
seasoning.
Right.
Seasoning. And this is something I teach my own staff, and it's something I mention in my training products that I offer to the public. Prompts and interactions should be like seasoning. When you buy yourself a nice big piece of steak and you're going to throw it on your grill, do you take the entire spice cabinet and dump it on your steak? No. But you do put something on your steak because you're looking to enhance the flavor. That's the way I think of interaction. Every song is not a sing-along or a hand clap or a line dancer because that gets stupid and cheesy and shut the F up, Mr. MC. But I also am never going to go an hour without opening the microphone and doing something. So that's what I think of it as. Sprinkle here, wait a little bit, sprinkle something there, wait a little bit, sprinkle something there. And I think if you use that analogy in your head and that as a visual, I think you'll do the proper, in my opinion, amount of interactions.
But and I mean, that's an excellent point, Mike. And I know you've made that in the workshop before and on the recordings and videos and things. But I think it also goes back to a topic you and I have made, multiple times. I think it 100% not is essential, but is important if you want to be interactive. Is you've got to be a two-person. Whether they just are literally a button pusher.
Well, see, again, I think you're going back to the interaction has to be on the dance floor. That's not the case. I think you're more effective. But even with that, Joe, I mean, I've done plenty of one-person packages, solo events, and still been on the dance floor. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can hit the Cupid Shuffle. You can hit play on the Cupid Shuffle, and run out, set it up, lead it, do it, and then with a minute left in the song, come back and make your mix. Yeah, you can have Don't Stop Believin' playing and get out on the dance floor and lead a sing along and lead a air guitar thing, and then still get back by the end of the song and make your mix. So it's a little bit more work. But I don't think you have to have an assistant just to say something on
fire off the cues.
Again, going back to your level of interaction, you don't bring an assistant, you don't get on the dance floor. So you can still do some prompting and prompt some sing-alongs at the chorus and things like that from back behind the table.
Oh, I'm definitely doing that. I mean, if that's under the category of interactivity, there's no doubt I'm doing that. I mean, there are certain songs, that I'll go into, especially something that's kind of starts dull. Oh, Sweet Caroline, that's a good example. Where I'm like, I want to hear you guys sing this one or something like that. Or at the end when it's really starting to go, I want to see y'all jump. Bum, 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 bum. There are definitely vocal cues and interaction that I'm doing throughout the night, other than just first dance introduction, parent dance introduction, things like that.
Right.
And
do you offer giveaways at all in your company?
No. What do you don't like have a glow stick,
like
or
glow sticks or maracas or Hawaiian lays? You don't offer those things at all.
You mean as an add-on or just
as an add-on?
No.
Yeah.
Do y'all offer it as an add-on or just?
We have 3 different packages that we offer. Okay. They're all upgrades. Two $100 and one $200.
Right.
And just this upcoming weekend, by the way, is I think our busiest of the year.
Damn.
I don't even know how many events we have, but it's crazy.
The payroll.
But I've got payroll Monday will be one of those mornings where I'm like, is this the morning I skip to Mexico and never come back? It'll be like cut payroll or buy a car. Which one should I do? But yeah, I've got 5 prize packages or giveaway packages going out this weekend.
Right.
So, out of, I think we're doing about 40 events. So that's not a big percentage, but they're there. And to me, that's a level of interaction.
Yeah.
And I'll say that I know some people are like, oh, giveaways are cheesy and who wants them? Well, I make 2 points about that. Number one, when I walk out on the dance floor or my assistant walks out on the dance floor with an armful of Hawaiian lays, we feel like Jesus curing the lepers. Like people literally are, clamoring to get one of these.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
9 cents worth Hawaiian lei. When we walk out with neon necklaces,
you think you're giving away Maseratis.
Exactly. Right. You think you're giving away keys to a BMW. People are literally clamoring. So don't tell me that nobody wants giveaways. And then my second point about giveaways is the photo booths are all the rage now. And you have to have props or giveaways in a photo booth. And we see plenty of times where all of a sudden I don't have giveaways at a party and I'll look out and go, how come 9 people are wearing hats? Oh, they stole them
from your photo booth. Yeah.
So don't tell me that people don't like giveaways, because when we offer them and bring them out to parties, they're literally the hottest item of the night.
Well, also, Mike, I mean, you're going back to your original point. Your clients bought them for their guests. It's not like this is part of the Mike Walter package and you just brought them.
True, but there are times when I will, I'm working with a particularly really cool couple and I like them. And so I'll just say, you know what, I'm going to bring a tube of neons out.
I got
50, And I've never had a client go, oh, put those away. That's beneath my party. Again, people are clamoring to get them. You go to any nightclub when they start throwing T-shirts out on the stage. I mean, these things are highlights of the night, and I think they're a huge part of interaction. I love having giveaways at my parties because it adds to that moment. You do a highlight of the night. You have neons out on the dance floor. You get those lights shut down and get everybody waving the neons in the air.
It's a good look.
Fantastic visual.
It is. Mike, you want to give a plug real quick to who you use? Is it Sherman or Rhode Island?
Hector at Sherman is amazing. They've got, and speaking of the glow stuff, they've got some new. They had it on display down at the DJ Times in Atlantic City. Yeah, I think it's out now. They've got some, the foam disco sticks that they offer. They're making those in headphone shapes and also microphone shapes.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, those are hot new items that, again, I love it. Like I said, I've got 5. I'm putting them together today. That's on my to-do list today. Is to get those all together and then call the DJ and say, hey, you can pick it up here at the office. But I mean, I consider that another level of interaction. And again, somebody like Nick Spinelli or some other people in the industry might consider that stuff dead or I don't know, beneath them or whatever, but I just see it as a highlight of a party when it's on an event.
Well, let me also add this point, Mike, as we head into the last part of the show here. When was the last time that either maybe you were paired up with, or you and Kelly got invited to a party or a wedding or an event that had a wedding cover band? recently, or has it been a long time?
I mean, our own wedding, we had a band that did mostly covers,
right? And weren't they super interactive? I mean,
oh my God, I've always made the point they led a conga line at our wedding. Yeah. And I don't think there's a DJ alive that could have gotten our guests because, again, most of them were DJs. And listen, the one thing I will say about interaction, when DJs are off, most of us probably don't want to do a line dance because we're off for the night and I don't want to do it.
Right.
So they didn't do any line dances, but at one point we had a horn section, and the horn section went out into the crowd and got different people up off of their chairs and then into a conga line. And Kelly and I were part of the conga line too, but I've seen the video from after the fact, and I look at Chris Monaco is on the conga line, and Jay Thompson and Dominic Sestito and Jason Janai, and you know what I mean, and people that I guarantee there's not a DJ in the world that would have been, come on guys, let's do a conga line, and would have gotten that crowd, but the band was able to do it.
Yep. No doubt. That was my point. I mean, so going back to the original topic of is interaction dead? I mean, I'm paired with these people sometimes to play during the breaks or to play the cocktails.
And they do the interactions?
Man, they do interactions. They're interactive on the stage. They'll get out on the dance floor. They will physically put their hands on grandma and get her up and do the twist or whatever. I mean, and they're getting $10,000, $15,000, $25,000,
we paid $5,000 for Kirk, and I know he gave us like an industry discount.
Right.
So
it ain't cheap. So anyway, I guess that was just kind of my point.
I think that's an excellent point. Yeah, I mean, and listen, I did a seminar at Mobile Beat this year, and I showed a clip of I asked the crowd, do you think interaction is beneath you? And listen, I'm sure that there are some people might not even admit it openly, but there are some people in our industry that are like, yeah, I don't want to do that. And then I showed a clip of Justin Timberlake from the Super Bowl, his halftime performance
from the month before.
He got into the crowd.
Yeah, he did.
Walked up the steps of if you haven't seen it, definitely look it up. Led a hand clapping prompt and then got everybody singing along.
Yeah, he did.
So if it ain't, and I think I ended that with if it's cool enough for if it's good enough for JT, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
And I think we should think of that instead of being all like, oh, I'm too cool to do that. Listen, if a world class entertainer like Justin Timberlake can lead people in a hand clapping prompt, why can't you?
Yeah. Done.
Drop the mic right there.
I was about to say, go ahead and slam your mic down.
This thing is too good, and I'm not finished with my audiobook yet. I can't slam this one.
All right, man, good one.
Let's wrap it here.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for listening. As always, you can find us anywhere. Make sure you subscribe so you always know when we're coming live. Mike mentioned Mobile Beat just now. He will be on stage and doing some extracurricular MC workshops, and with me doing our PHDJ workshop at the end of Mobile Beat Las Vegas in March in Las Vegas. So please sign up, phdjworkshop.com. And that's pretty much, Mike, you got to plug anything? You want to talk about your book?
No, I just want to say happy birthday once again, Joe. Enjoy your day.
Brother. Appreciate y'all. Thanks, everybody.
Joe Eagles Bunn.
Joseph.
Joseph.
Later, y'all.